So President Donald Trump just laid out the entire playbook for getting wealthy in a fraction of the time. Now listen, my friends, everyone's talking about the big beautiful bill, but the reality of it is the big beautiful bill is only beautiful for about 10 to 15% of the American economy. The other 85% are stuck, and that big beautiful bill is the ugliest thing for them possible. Here's why. The big beautiful bill is a spending package. It's really what it comes down to. It's a set of incentives that will incentivize people with eyes to see to align and position their money in a way that benefits them. But outside of that, it's a spending package. President Donald Trump is going to do what every politician for the beginning of time all the way to today has always done. He is going to spend more money. And what this is going to do, inevitably, it's going to continue to drive the one thing that is destroying 85% of Americans: inflation. You are right now likely putting your money in all of the places that you've been told to put your money. You probably have a good job. You're probably working really hard. You're probably saving as much as you possibly can to get the free money from your company's sponsored 401k plan, and you're stacking all of your money in a retirement account, a tax-deferred retirement account. This is what 85% of Americans do. They use these accounts to plan for their retirement. But underneath that surface of this prescribed advice that everyone is doing is a failing system. What's actually happening is you're positioning your money where things like taxes and inflation and interest rates and opportunity costs, those four economic forces, all four of them are working against you. Consider this: when your money is in a 401k, here's what's happening. Every single year, you have to deal with a declining value of your dollar because of inflation. Now, whether the Fed tells us it's 2%, or whether you follow what I believe Shadow Stats says it's closer to 6 or 7%, no matter what, you know that your money is getting less and less valuable every single year. In fact, the Fed tells us that they're targeting a 2 to 3% inflation rate, which means by default, it doesn't matter what you think you're earning, it's 2 to 3% less at minimum every single year. You've positioned your money against inflation. Inflation is making you poor. Number two, taxes. Your CPA told you that putting your money in a 401k or an IRA or a tax-deferred account was a smart move. But let me invite you to consider this. You just invited the biggest spending monster, the IRS, into your future. The government cannot and will not stop spending money, which means they are going to tax you at whatever the tax rates are in the future. And if you're like me, I don't see any way out. The tax rates have to at least be the same, if not massively higher in the future. There are many predictions that taxes will double in order for the federal government to meet all of their future obligations. And congratulations, my friend, following traditional financial advice, taxes are now a major headwind working against you in the future. Number three, interest rates. Everyone's crying about interest rates right now. But the reason people are crying is they don't understand how interest rates work. They think things have become less affordable. But here's what I want you to consider. Interest rates just are the price of money. Yeah, the price of money went up today, but you can still borrow fake money. That's all interest rates are from a bank to buy a real asset. Let me invite you to consider this. What if a mortgage costs you 6 or 7% today? You go borrow that money from a bank, the bank prints it into existence, it doesn't even exist until you go borrow it, and you then turn around and buy a real asset that's capable of generating you 25 or 30% or more. Would you pay 6 to earn 30? Every single day you would. That's why real investors understand the game of money is really just a pricing game of interest rates. Interest rates are the price of money, but when you can use the bank's money, fake money, to buy a real asset, you're winning. And last but not least is the economic force of opportunity cost. When you park your money in an IRA, a 401k, or any form of a future retirement plan, your money's stuck. I promise you, my friends, right now the wealthy, they are getting massively wealthier, and it's because they can see opportunities in front of them. They can seize those opportunities that they see because their money is liquid and it's in their control. When you put your money in a 401k, I want to invite you to consider this. That's not your money anymore. You've given that money to the system. The system now gets to make money from your money for the next 20, 30, 40 years, and they'll give you back whatever's left over at a future taxable rate in the future. That system wasn't built for you, it was built for them. So my friends, those investors, the 10 to 15% of the population that understand how the financial game works today, when they saw the big beautiful bill, it was truly that beautiful, because President Donald Trump is incentivizing the behavior that he wants to see in the economy. If you're following traditional financial plans, the behavior that you're following is the behavior that is getting penalized for following that behavior. You're getting penalized by taxes, penalized by inflation, penalized by interest rates, and penalized by opportunity costs. But on the other side of that equation, 80% of that big beautiful bill, guess who it was written for? It was written for real estate investors. Now, your financial advisor, the one who's making money while you give him your money and he puts it in some account that he has no control over and you have no control over, he's telling you or she's telling you that real estate is risky. So let me invite you to consider this. What's the biggest risk? Is the risk listening to some outdated, broke financial advisor, or is the risk getting into an asset and raising your financial intelligence a little bit to win the game of money? Either way is going to be hard. I'm just going to invite you to consider choosing your hard. Because on the real estate side of things, let me help you understand what was just accomplished. On the real estate side of things with the big beautiful bill, President Trump just allowed us to start using real estate to start massively reducing our tax bill on our active income for the rest of our life. A piece of real estate is something that is phenomenal. Here's the way it works. Because of inflation, right, an economic force, every single year that piece of real estate gets more and more valuable. Now, not really more valuable, just more expensive because the dollars, our dollars, are not buying as much as they were before. But if I just buy the right asset in the right location and have it managed by the right property manager, every single year that real estate is going to get more valuable. At the same time, if I'm using bank money to buy that asset, I'm going to have a renter who I attract to go live in that house. They're going to be paying off my mortgage for me. So every single year, my mortgage balance is going to be going down, my asset value is going to be going up, and it's creating a delta. That delta is equity. That equity is now money that I can access from the bank completely tax-free. Now, let me say that one more time. That equity is equity that I can access from the bank completely tax-free. In addition to being able to access equity tax-free, on paper, what Donald Trump did with the big beautiful bill is he allowed me to say, hey, even though my real estate is getting more valuable over time because of inflation, I get to depreciate it because there are some things in the real estate that I'll have to replace over time. So I get to take a paper loss against real income to offset any of my active income or my real estate income. Now, my friends, that might sound crazy. That might sound like, trickery, but here's what it is. If you open up that big old book of the tax code, it is literally thousands of pages long. Last I looked, I think it's like 3,500 pages, and then there's many additions and addendums on top of that. And basically the very first thing that tax code said is everything you make is taxable. Now, if everything we make is taxable, why do we need 3,500 additional pages in the tax code? I want to invite you to consider those additional 3,500 pages are written for people who have eyes to see. The IRS is using the tax code to incentivize behavior. Donald Trump just re-incentivized that very same behavior with the big beautiful bill. I'm going to invite you to consider this. All four of those economic forces that are working against you on the 401k side or the traditional financial advice side are actually working for you on the real estate side. Consider this. If I take my money, the money that I've traded my time, effort, and energy for, and I buy a good asset, a good piece of real estate in a good area, here's what's happening. Inflation is actually making me wealthy. Every single year, as the cost of living is going up, the value of my real estate is going up, which ultimately means as the value of my real estate is going up, I get to go back to the bank over and over and over again and via lines of credit or cash out refinances, access that equity and make that equity mine. All of that is done tax-free. So inflation is making me wealthier every single year. And as a good real estate investor, we're not doing this an egregious way, but every single year, as the cost of living is going up, we have an opportunity to slowly raise our rents with the rising cost of inflation. Imagine this, if you've lived in a rental home, you know how that works. Every couple years when you renew a lease, you know that the lease is gonna be renewed at a little bit higher of a rate. But if I used a bank mortgage to buy that house, my biggest cost, my mortgage, it's fixed, right? It's a fixed monthly sum every single month, but now my rents are going up every single year on average with inflation. So inflation is making me wealthy. Number two, taxes. Taxes destroy so many people's wealth. And here's the reality. Taxes, whether you're paying them directly or you're paying them indirectly because of inflation, it's all the same thing. The IRS is either taxing you directly or they're printing more money and taxing you indirectly because of inflation. With real estate, that's what the big beautiful bill was all about. It extended the tax cuts, the tax advantages for real estate investors, which means I can have real money, real income showing up in my bank account and pay zero in taxes legally and ethically. No loopholes, no gray areas. The big, beautiful bill, all of those additional pages in the tax code are telling me the exact playbook to pay nothing in taxes. Consider that for just a moment. The wealthiest people in America, they're not just wealthy because they're lucky. They're not just wealthy because they're, egregious, they're taking advantage of everyone else. The wealthy people in America understand how to use inflation and taxes to their advantage, to create more wealth. And they're riding that system to make them wealthy. The system exists, whether you acknowledge it or not. The only question is, are you going to align your money with it, or are you going to fight against it? Let's go one step deeper. Interest rates. I already kind of talked to you about this. Interest rates are a little bit higher, but what's Donald Trump doing right now? He is pounding on Jerome Powell to lower the interest rate. Now, whether Jerome Powell does it or not, here's what I want you to consider. If Jerome Powell lowers the interest rates, what's that going to do? It's going to drive a flood of buyers into the market, which means lower interest rates are going to make the wealthy even wealthier. Why? Because the wealthy own the assets. The wealthy own the assets. So if Jerome Powell lowers the interest rates, it's going to drive the price of real estate up even higher. If Jerome Powell doesn't lower the interest rates, the wealthy don't care either way, right? They're just going to use the interest rate as the price of money. If it's 6, 7, or 8%, they're going to go to the bank, take a mortgage, 30-year fixed mortgage that gets less valuable every single year because of inflation. They're paying the bank back with less valuable dollars. They're going to get a 30-year fixed mortgage and buy a real asset that can earn them 20, 30, 40, 50% or more. That's the game of arbitrage. That's the game of leverage. Last but not least is opportunity cost. My friends, it has never been easier to become wealthy ever in the history of America. There is more digital access, there is more technology, and more importantly, there is more leverage and printing of money than ever before. And I do not morally agree with what is going on inside of our economy. And I can sit back and say that's morally wrong for the government to go into so much debt. I can say it's morally wrong for, 30-year mortgages to exist. And I can sit back and I can be a victim of the system, but be morally right. I can also look at that system and say, look, this is how the game is played. These are the rules of money. Whether I like them or not, I can let those rules rule me, or I can use those rules to become free. That's what I look at. I'm going to use the rules of the economy to become free. An opportunity cost is knowing that the money that you need, the money that you want, the money that you have to have it doesn't exist. Money is just an agreement. And today, money can be printed on demand. Now, I get super mad when I see Donald Trump printing more money to say, I'm gonna drive the US government into more national debt. And I can get back and say, that's not fair, it's not right. And I can deal with the impacts of that through inflation. Or I can go to the bank and say, hey, if he can do it, I can too. If he can do it, I can too. Here's how it works. I'm gonna go to the bank with a real asset, something that has real value, and I'm gonna say, bank, I wanna buy this asset. The bank is going to print money out of thin air. They're going to create money, consider that for just a moment, out of thin air. They're going to give me that money to buy that real asset. I'm then going to put that real asset in the marketplace. I'm going to bring a tenant into that asset. That tenant's going to pay rent, and I'm gonna use that rent to pay the bank back. I used fake money to buy a real asset. My friends, opportunity cost is all around us right now. You're either suffering from opportunity cost because you're trying to work harder in a system that's not designed to make you win, or you're using the system to become financially free in a fraction of the time. If you understand the game and the rules that I just laid out to even some extent, here's my invitation. Go deeper. The game today is won by one thing. It's won by understanding how money works, by raising your financial intelligence. Consider this, you were never taught about money. Your parents didn't teach you, the schools definitely didn't teach you, and Wall Street is not teaching you about money. What they're teaching you by default is how to be a victim of money. They're teaching you how to give your money after trading your time to them, crossing your fingers and hoping that it works out. You will lose that game, period. There is no way around it. The economic forces are working too hard against you to even give you a shot to have a semblance of winning. All you're doing is you're scrambling for scraps, determining who's going to lose the worst and who's going to lose the least in that game. If you want to win in the game of money, it's not playing a broken system better. That's just not the case. It's raising your financial intelligence, understanding that money is a tool, and then crossing the bridge, getting your money out and off of Wall Street. That game is built for them, not you. They win while you lose, and they only give you what's left over. Consider this. If you put your money in Wall Street for 30 or 40 years, they're taking compounding fees off the top every single year, whether the market is up or down. They have no control over what the market is doing. They're just reacting to it, but they're making money on your behalf every single year. And before you ever get your money back, the government's gonna step in and take whatever is theirs based on a future tax rate. They win, you lose. On the other side of the equation, we eliminate market fees, we eliminate that chaos, and we just buy real assets that have real demand in real Main Street America, and we use the economic forces to make us wealthy. No Wall Street, no taxes, but it does require a higher financial IQ. I hope this gave you a doorway, a glimpse into what's available to you, because the big beautiful bill, it's only beautiful for about 15% of Americans who understand how the game of money works. The other 85%, the big beautiful bill, might as well scratch that out. It's a big ugly bill. It adds more spending, it makes more taxes, it makes more inflation, and that is destroying most people's real money. Don't let it be you. Come over and make the big beautiful bill something that makes you beautifully wealthy now.